It is December 1943, and it's your second freezing cold winter at the North Sea coast. The wind blowing in your face from the open Atlantic sends chills down your spine. You remember the summer's home leave, back to your small village deep in eastern Germany. Your wife just gave birth to your second daughter. Every day feels the same, ever since you left. You miss them deeply. You glance at the ocean again, and suddenly you remember. It can happen at any time. There could be a massive fleet of Allied destroyers and landing ships approaching any minute. Suddenly, your comrade knocks on the door. Your shift is over. It's been a long 12 hours of nothing. You nod in his direction. A quick smile hushes your mouth. It's time to sleep, and you know, tomorrow will be the exact same thing. So, I've been to northern Denmark during Christmas time, and as I stood there in the chilling cold, staring at the endless depths of the North Sea, I couldn't ignore all the concrete compartments scattered all across the beach. Many show harsh signs of corrosion. Some are even sunken into the sand completely. Most are covered in graffiti. I already knew what they were, but I couldn't keep myself from digging deeper. These concrete buildings are remnants of Nazi Germany's infamous Atlantic Wall, a colossal World War II fortification project. Bunkers, crew quarters and pillboxes, orchestrated by massive naval guns and air defense systems. I spent my holidays researching these bunkers up close, along the west coast of Denmark, exploring the still well-preserved batteries in Tiburon, where you can still crawl inside and feel the chill of the past. So, join me on my Christmas deep dive into the full story of the history of the Atlantic Wall. So, what exactly are we dealing with here? A staggering 2,400-mile long chain of coastal defenses, stretching from the northern tip of Norway all the way down to the French-Spanish border, including the British Channel Islands, built by Nazi Germany between 1942 and 1944. It was Hitler's grand plan to fortify Europe's west coast against Allied invasions. Denmark, occupied early in 1940, saw construction kick off sooner than anywhere else, with bunkers dotting the Jutland coastline against potential British attacks from the North Sea. The project really ramped up after Hitler's Führer Detective 40 in March 1942, which ordered the creation of a new West Wall to make the entire coastline invasion-proof. This was Germany's answer to the US entering the war, and the failed Ypres raid in August of 1942, which exposed vulnerabilities in German defenses. Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, the so-called Desert Fox, was brought in late 1943 to inspect and expand the fortifications, adding millions of mines, tank traps and beach obstacles. Over 15,000 concrete bunkers, pillboxes and gun emplacements were built using 1.2 million tons of steel, enough for more than 20,000 of the infamous German Tiger tanks, and 600,000 tons of concrete poured in monthly at its peak. The organization Todt, led first by Fritz Todt and later by Albert Speer, oversaw the massive effort, employing around 600,000 workers, many of them forced laborers and slaves from occupied territories, who endured horrific conditions. The total cost amounts to a whopping 3.7 billion Reichsmark, roughly equivalent to around 20 billion US dollars in 2026. In Denmark alone, the focus was on heavy coastal batteries, designed to dominate the sea lanes. As I started exploring the ruins of Tiburon, I started to really feel what it must have been like to be a German soldier, waiting here for Judgment Day, month after month. I even got to climb into some of the bunkers, and tried to put myself into their shoes, staring at the cold blank ocean. The compartments I discovered have never seen open combat, yet I could still feel the shadow of war among them. And a lot about the Atlantic Wall wasn't just about the actual harsh reality, but much more about a deceptive feeling. Nazi propaganda turned the Atlantic Wall into a myth of invincibility. Imagine the headlines: the unbreakable fortress. Nazi propaganda machines, including the Todt organization's own publicity arm, bombarded the world with images of colossal coastal guns, elite soldiers standing guard, and slogans portraying the wall as an impenetrable bunker manned by crack troops. Photos of Wehrmacht sentries in bunkers along the French Channel coast were splashed across magazines in 1944, exaggerating its size and strength to demoralize the Allies and boost German morale. It was sold as a wall of concrete and steel that no invader could ever breach, stretching endlessly and defended by the Reich's finest. The reality, though, was far from the headlines. Many sections were incomplete, undermanned with second-rate or conscription troops, and riddled with gaps. Propaganda hid the forced labor horrors and the wall's actual vulnerabilities, like poor coordination and over-reliance on fixed positions. It was more a tool of propaganda than an unbreakable shield. But man, it did look intimidating on paper. Your dreams have been quiet lately. You had trouble falling asleep for so long now, you don't even remember it being different anymore. But today is different. Today is loud. You hear screams in the distance. Even an explosion or two. At least that's what you think it is. You can't really point toward it. It's just distant. All of a sudden you feel an impact. Get up is the first thing you can hear clearly. From the jumble of noises you can't really wrap your head around. But the soldier within you starts to take over. You quickly jump up, grab your gear, and leave the grey cold bunker. The noise gets louder. It's a mix of screams, gunshots, and explosions in the near distance. You arrive at the nearest trench and see two of your comrades already laying inside and firing round after round. You only know them briefly for the few months you've been out here. You look down and see a Spanish rifle with barely any ammo. You look to the right and see your mate is firing an ancient Polish muzzleloader. He also just has 2 packs left. You look at the sky and take just a second to pray. It's the 6th of June, 1944, and this is the reality of the Atlantic Wall. On June 6, 1944, the Allies launched Operation Overlord, the largest amphibious operation in history, targeting Normandy, France, right at the heart of the Atlantic Wall. In the pre-dawn hours, over 1,200 aircrafts dropped American and British paratroopers right behind enemy lines to secure key bridges and roads. At dawn, naval bombardments hammered the defenses, as around 130,000 troops from the US, the UK, Canada, and other allies stormed 5 beaches, codenamed Utah, Omaha, Gold, Sword, and Juno. The fighting was brutal. At Omaha Beach, US troops faced withering machine gun fire from cliff-top bunkers, suffering 2,000 casualties within hours. Mines, barbed wire, and artillery turned the sands into killing fields. Yet, through sheer power of will, air superiority, and deception operations that fooled the Germans into expecting an attack at Pas-de-Calais, hours of driving away, the Allies breached the wall. By the day's end, despite around 10,000 Allied casualties, footholds were secured, marking the beginning of Europe's liberation from Nazi Germany's domination. The Atlantic Wall, for all its terrifying scare, crumbled in a single morning, proving that no fortification is unbreakable. Standing here in Denmark, getting to touch these concrete echoes of the past, over 80 years later, is a reminder of World War II's immense scale and cost. The Atlantic Wall's story, from its ambitious build, the propaganda facade, and its eventual downfall, is a chapter me and you can't forget. Yet, there's so much more to explore. In Denmark, where my journey took place, sites like Hanstholm Fortress, the largest in Northern Europe, are now museums showcasing guns, tunnels, and daily soldier life. Banks Beaufort and Blåvand Bunker Museum let you explore intact batteries and even climb into observation posts. Over in France, Normandy's Le Grand Bunker and Battery Todd are must visits, with preserved casemates and artifacts from the invasion. While the Channel Islands boast the best preserved complexes, including underground tunnels bypassed during the war. If you feel like exploring further, pay one of those a visit. And if you're somewhere on the Atlantic coast in Europe, there's at least some remains everywhere to be discovered. Though every year the remnants are challenged by natural erosion or coastal redevelopment. Drop your thoughts in the comments, share this video, and subscribe for more archaeology adventures. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.